So in this video, I want to break down why many SaaS founders, about 90%, are not hitting 10 million in annual recurring revenue consistently. And I want to go through some of the key things about what the 1% do differently and why we as designers are one of the massive levers that many of these SaaS founders need to tap into to really help hit this revenue benchmark and even further. But I want to really take this time now to go into this and break it down to you step by step. Now, I've been a lead designer for many years, over about past 6 years altogether, and then over the past 14 years as a product designer. And I've seen some consistent trends when it comes onto hitting some revenue goals. I remember working with one company specifically where they were struggling to hit their revenue numbers because the churn was so high. So the thought from the leadership team was to defeat the churn, let's spend more money in the top of funnel to get more people into our actual pipeline, to get more people in so that they can come to the website, actually sign up and, hopefully stay and use the product. But the problem is that the mindset was an acquisition first mindset. Everyone was thinking acquisition first. I also got caught up in that mindset thinking, and that meant that we're spending more money, but we're not fixing what we call the hole in the bucket, the leaky bucket syndrome, which is the retention problem inside of the application. And that's where user experience is so important to fix that issue. And I'm going to go into why those are one of the most powerful levers today. And I've basically seen this repetition of thinking acquisition first all over many different types of companies, or many of the companies I've worked at. And if you'd love to get a copy of my portfolio, just hit me up directly and I'll send it over to you. But in preparing for this, I did some research to understand what are some of the challenges SaaS companies are making to get to that next stage of growth, really analyzing the reality of that 1 to 100 million journey in SaaS and looking to what some of these bigger SaaS founders are saying. Also looking into some of the reasons SaaS founders fail to reach that 10 million a month in revenue. And I'm going to show you some of the 3 reasons why I think they struggle, and also going through how it's affecting seed and generating money. And even over the past 6 months or so, I've begun to speak to designers and others who are not just in design, or people who work in tech. I began to see how hard it is even to find roles at the moment, because obviously AI is one part of the impact, but another part of the impact is understanding these 3 levels I'm about to share with you now. So number 1 is what we call SaaS pricing. Most SaaS pricing is done dead wrong, and I'm going to talk you through the 7 levers of SaaS pricing to help improve that. Number 2 is around how founders underestimate churn. SaaS founders are busy, designers are busy, marketers are busy, everyone's busy inside of the organization, but specifically helping the founder understand the power of churn, designers can really step in that gap to really focus on that churn challenge and really deal with that issue for the business. Then the third thing is around user experience. This is the ultimate growth lever, because even a product that is not marketed but is excellent, even a non-marketed or a poorly marketed product with great user experience will be able to generate customers and keep customers because the user experience is great. Now, you do need to make sure that you focus on user experience, but on marketing, you need to focus on marketing, but user experience is important. So let's go into why I believe most SaaS pricing is wrong. Now, when we look at the 7 SaaS pricing models I'm going to talk to you today, the first one is around usage-based pricing or usage-based model. This is where customers are really paid based on the actual usage of the product and service. That's specifically where they are focusing their energy. This is how much you use, and this is specifically what you will pay. Think of tools like Slack, Notion, and others. They have a usage-based pricing model. Then we have our flat rate. This is what most people understand. You come to a company, they tell you it's going to be X amount per month, and it doesn't change. That's a flat rate. Customers pay a fixed monthly or flat rate per year, and that's our fixed rate pricing. The next one is what we call a tiered model, where we have different packages that offer different pricing and different costs. So you might have a freemium model, then you have a $10 a month, then a $20 a month or more. Now, those are what we call tiered. Normally it's about 3, and I'm going to show you how some of the best companies do it. Then we have the next one, which is called a value-based model. So this is where products are priced based on the value offered to the company or to the customer. So a customer might say, based upon what we are offering you, you get access to the product, but we might do a value base where we're offering a service alongside the actual SaaS. So the value of that may not be very clear off the bat. So they might want you to have a phone conversation with the company first, and then we can then they define the pricing for you. It's what we call value-based pricing. Our next one is freemium model. Everyone's aware of this. Offer a free basic plan first, and then choose to upgrade later on. This is a great way. We call this a lead generation offer. It's a great way to generate leads inside of the actual company to get people to sign up, because it's easier to get a customer who signed up to upgrade versus to churn and bring them back, or to actually acquire new customers. Those are more expensive activities. The next one is a per user model. So Slack kind of has this, like the number of seats or price per seat, I believe, charges based on the number of people using a product or service. And then we have what we call feature-based pricing. So you unlock different pricing or unlock different features at different pricing points. So businesses are charged based upon the features offered by a SaaS product. So these are some of the 7 different SaaS pricing models. Basically, it's very good for a founder to be very clear on which pricing model they're using and articulate that throughout the whole business so people are very clear. Because especially from a design standpoint, the pricing model you're using can heavily impact the way that we design your screens and the way we think about upsells, cross-sells, and any other places throughout the actual product where we're going to put those upgrades to other different products or other different features inside the SaaS product. So let's go into it. If you look at a company like HubSpot, they have one of the most, let me not say complicated, but one of the most challenging things for HubSpot is that people can bundle, people can create bespoke packages, people can use their free package. So they've got so much going on, and you've got different teams that can use HubSpot from sales and marketing and others. So you've got all of these different types of people that can use their platform. So they need a platform that is flexible, and they need a pricing model that relates to that flexibility as well. So when you see a HubSpot, you see that flexibility reflected in their pricing model, and you can also call them up to create something bespoke for your team as well. If you look at Slack, you can see where they've articulated to you the pricing up front, but you can also see this per seat pricing. So for example, on the pro level, it's $14, but then you see a $17.25 per person inside of their pricing as well. So that's something that, you know, when you think about that, maybe you've got 20 people in your team, 30 people in your team, 50 people in your team, 100 people in your team. You can see that this is a tool that can get quite expensive quite fast. And if you check on X, you can see a lot of people that have complained about how expensive Slack can get as well. But to be fair, I've used Slack for a number of years. Powerful tool, really super essential to it when you get to a certain point in your business. So once your business is making money, that cost gets absorbed by that as well. You think about Notion, I use this on a daily basis. I actually like their pricing plan, really simple to understand. Their freemium model is super powerful because you can get so much value from their premium model and actually still run a business from their free plan and do really well. But then there gets to a point where you do need to invite a certain number of guests and do a bit more. So this is where, you know, when you start to increase a certain number of pages, you're going to have to pay for Notion. And once you get into Notion, you start to use it on a regular basis. It's really hard to leave Notion. So this is now a pricing plan that is really good. It's not too expensive. It's not too crazy, but they've made the free plan so good and so engaging and so flexible so that when people start using it, it can become quite challenging to leave. And that's what you want, a sticky products basically that keeps people there. You can have other different types of pricing. This is what we call more value-based pricing. So you can see in the design, the pricing is not shown up front because you need to call the company and have a chat with them. And then they basically, on the different plans, they create a bespoke package and get a quote. Whenever you see get a quote, I always think it's going to be expensive. Sorry to the team at Data Guard if you're not that expensive, but every time I see you get a quote, I think expensive. But other than that, you can see the power in how they've articulated the value that they provide at these different tiers as well. You have Adobe or Adobe, whichever way you say it. This is a great platform. I've been using Adobe for almost 20 years now. Now, the challenge with Adobe is that sometimes, depending upon what you're doing, you go through seasons in your life as a designer where you might be, if you're like me, I edit videos, I also design, I also do photo manipulation. So at different times, I might be in and out of certain platforms, so I pay for the whole package. But at £58, some people, or 60 odd pounds, some people might find this quite steep cost. So combining, thinking about that, Adobe have tried to think about ways how they can make a plan fit for you. They're very aware of their pricing, and you can see how they've modeled their pricing page to kind of speak to that challenge that people have, highlight what's most popular. But I also think they can do more around the customization piece to make sure that people can pick 1 or 2 packages. They make it hard to just pick individual software. You can pick 1 software off the back, but if I just want to use these 2, sometimes it can feel like you're eventually going to spend more. So what they've done with their pricing is make it, let's say you need 2 or 3 software. They make it kind of so pricey at 2 and even more pricey at 3 than the monthly cost to lock you in at the monthly price, basically. So that's what Adobe's business goal is, to get you on that kind of continuity plan, basically. I won't go into their pricing. I can spend, a long time on it, but you can see here how it works for their business. You can then see at more premium tools like SaaS platforms like Salesforce. This is definitely much more of a premium CMS type of a platform. Once again, similar to HubSpot, it has that complexity and that kind of, different types of pricing based upon where you're at in your business. But you can see how they've kept pricing very simple, growth plus advanced premium. And if you want anything out of that, let's have a chat. So they've kept it really simple. Another example of that is with, this is Google's Workspace, I believe. I took a screenshot of this one quickly. I really like their pricing, really simple, really clear up front. And I liked how in the UX of it, and the UI, I should say, that how once you can see that kind of get started button in blue. It still gets started across all of them and then contact sales for enterprise. But you can see this kind of straight in the middle, focusing your eye, ready for you to make a decision. And just above, you can see everything that is included in that plan. Try it for 14 days. Once you start, it's one of those, another one similar to Notion. Once you start using the platform, you start using docs, etc. It's really hard to leave if you're using it consistently. I really like QuickBooks. You can see where they have that switcher where you can turn off that free trial, and you can see how the price would change as a result of people making these changes. But what they've done really nicely on this pricing page is they've got the steps 2 and 3 visible for you. So it feels like really simple. Choose your plan, and then in step 2 and step 3, people understand basic checkout flows nowadays. But they've really articulated on their pricing page the speed at which you'll be able to go through in 3 steps. Then we've got, I think this was Slack. Yeah, I think this was Slack that I had screenshotted. Once again, free plan for Slack, similar to Notion, where their free plan is really simple and easy for people to just get into and start using. But once again, they have a plan where once you start inviting team members and your team members are using Slack alongside you, similar to Notion as well, it's harder to leave. So really, it's kind of seeing a consistency where the user experience has been designed in such a way to make it easy to add people and start to work on things with people and make it harder to leave. Zendesk has a similar idea around that, but what they've done is they price based upon the number of agents. So you can see on their pricing page how they increase the number of agents. So I share with you all of these pricing examples to really show the importance of getting your pricing page right. As simple as it sounds, this is the most important page on your website, because really once people are ready to convert and go onto that next stage of you, making sure your pricing is really clear up front and how it works and the differences between the different plans that you may have. And if you've got value-based pricing or whatever it may be, make sure that's clear to users who come to your page, but also internally for your team. Make sure your team are aligned to the pricing model that you're using so that they can operate and action the right tips and strategies internally to make the changes on the website or in the product to help actually get more people onto the plans that you have as well. Let's go into the next thing. So the next thing I want to talk about is number 2, why 90% of SaaS founders really underestimate churn. So one of the best companies that I've seen that do, how they dealt with this churn issue really well is Slack. So Slack's churn, they really deal with it in the onboarding. And the way they do that is by helping users go through specific workflows and then collaborate very quickly by getting people to add team members, get your team set up, add team members in, and get them into the product as quickly as possible. They know that within the first 30 to 60 seconds, if we can get you adding people into Slack, you already have your first, what we call aha moment, where it's like, aha, I know what to do to be able to use this product and to get people in really, really fast. So you want to think that 30 to 60 second window especially with onboarding, is how I like to think about dealing with this issue on churn. Now, churn is kind of what we call a retention challenge, meaning that further down in the product, we're going to deal with churn in different ways. But one of the ways you beat or defeat the churn issue is by getting people value really quickly. Then you do that first in the onboarding process and making sure that process is super easy, super actionable, and they're able to take, advantage of that, getting people into the product to use it with them if your product works in that way. Just think about what those aha moments are for you in your product. Make sure within the onboarding that can be actioned really quickly, and then you'll be able to see a difference along the way. The next company I want to showcase to you is Canva. Canva highlight the core benefits of the product. They do it by making you first select, who will be using Canva. Are you student, non-for-profit, teacher, large company, personal person, like for personal branded, or maybe a small business. Then they have the kind of learning video, simple onboarding video to show you how Canva works, how to use it, really easy to use. Then you can go into Canva and get busy. This is why I like it. And then if you're stuck at any point, you can then go back to their kind of home section and search for anything you want. And they've got thousands of templates ready to use and ready to get going as well. You see a similar kind of idea in a platform like Notion, where Notion have like simple onboarding video. Then you can quickly access templates if you've never used the platform before. So the way you want to think about it, that guided tour is a big thing. Implement interactive walkthroughs that explain the right thing at the right time. Dropbox you with pop-ups, Canva with videos, etc. Remember to keep it short. Users reach their first aha moments within the next 30 to 60 seconds of onboarding. Make sure you show value really fast. Highlight the core benefits and make sure that your product is not just features first. What benefit does it have to them? If the features show it, fine. If the workflow shows it, show the workflow. So it's really clear to them how they get those benefits. So when you think about a platform like Notion, the customization that you can have, it can feel initially really overwhelming, but you want to deal with that overwhelming feeling by making sure you have clear onboarding that explains all of the value to them. So a proactive way to stay ahead of churn is making sure that you're using historical data to inform what you're doing. You can potentially leverage machine learning or using some form of artificial intelligence to help you know what's going on. And now what companies are doing is they're training models inside of their companies to be able to understand when new customers are coming from, what they're looking for. And also if customers are about to cancel, they're able to trigger personalization through emails and notifications, etc., to be able to be proactive and stay ahead of churn. This is some of the new ways going forward that companies are dealing with churn, is by leveraging artificial intelligence, machine learning, to be able to do predictive analytics around how people are using their platforms. This is going to be one of the biggest things I see happening in the SaaS industry, where teams will get a lot smaller as companies get better at dealing with this churn issue, because you're going to leverage AI and artificial intelligence to be able to help them deal with these issues around churn. Now, predictive churn analytics helps HubSpot maintain 95% annual retention rates in enterprise accounts. This is from HubSpot's quarterly earnings report, Q4 2023. So we can see here that predictive churn analytics is going to be one of the big game changers in companies going forward. And many developers right now are building these platforms inside of their SaaS companies. So if you are a founder or a designer, you're working with the engineering team, start to talk to them about how you can build this inside of the organization and build this alongside what they're doing to help the designers think about ways to help deal with notifications, etc., toasts, banners, you leveraging messaging platform. All of this stuff, designers can think about how that workflow works. Designers can work alongside the engineers to think through these workflows to help integrate this into the business. Now, third-party integrations is going to be a big thing. Every SaaS platform dreams of being too big to leave. In other words, but the only top 1% execute this by embedding what we call a network effect of integrations. So the churn piece can be dealt with a lot faster if your platform is easily able to integrate with other platforms commonly used within the industry or within the team that you're supporting. What other platforms are they using? And sometimes it can be helpful to just integrate with those other platforms if there's something that those platforms don't do, or there's something that those more legacy-based platforms are already doing and they're already installed. Hey, say you can integrate with them in a great way as well. A way I think about it is like Figma collaborates so fluidly, And Figma also integrates with Jira and Trello and Notion and Google's Workspace and Slack, etc. So all of this stuff makes Figma really hard to leave. Most designers are coming from Adobe XD or Slack that use Figma, and Figma now has become such an essential that, boy, I'm not leaving Figma because I really love the platform. I use it every day. Plus, it integrates with everything so easy. When people are making comments, I get it in my Slack channel. I can have it on my phone. It's like I can make, feedback. I can give feedback in comments on my phone without having to open the Figma application. So all of this stuff, like the integration with things, is going to be such a massive game changer or lever that can be pulled inside the organization for your business. So the key stats behind churn I want you to pay attention to are things like 70%, 5% of customers leave due to poor onboarding experiences, and not because they didn't see value in the product, right? So they saw the value, but the onboarding experience was so meh, boring or not good enough that they didn't get the aha moment very quick, all right? The next thing is around improving user experience. It helps to reduce churn by 33% with beautifully designed frictionless experiences that lead to higher loyalty. This is what Envision found. So user experience, you're dealing with designers who focus on user experience. Having designers working with you on the churn problem will always be a powerful thing if you help them also understand prior to this, what is the pricing model that we are using, making sure they're all aligned and super clear, and they can think about the ways that they can execute people to into upsells and upgrades, etc. when they're in the platform also. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is that SaaS companies with churn below 5% break 30% faster annually than those with higher churn rates. So one of the key goals that I'll try and go for in a company is like, how do we, if I'm working on a churn-based, initiative, right? How do we deal with churn? How do we get our churn below 5% in the next 90 days, for example? Set that as a goal, go after it, work with the team to set some ways that they're going to deal with it, and see and test and create some tests to now deal with that 5% and under. You see, churn is one of the biggest SaaS killers of companies, but it also is one of the easiest levers to address if you start to think proactively. Think onboarding, predictive analytics, network effects, UX optimization. I remember fixing churn before spending another $1 on ads, or spend less on ads, spend more on fixing the churn problem. Because once you have customers retained, over time, you can start to ramp up your ad spend because you're going to get more customers to stay and be sticky. All right. The next thing is about the expansion is where expansion revenue is where the top 1% win. And when we say expansion revenue, this is the third level I want to talk about. This is really across these 4 key areas. So this is upsells, cross-sells. So upsells upgrading to higher tiers, the cross-sells selling complementary products, usage-based pricing. I kind of spoke about that in the beginning around scaling revenue. And the third thing is around account expansion. So think of the upsells on your pricing page. Where can you show it and how can it be easily found for customers as well? Another thing is around cross-sells. So how can you sell complementary products? Dropbox, as an example, is where you have Dropbox on one side, which is a cloud-based platform for storage. But then you also have their Dropbox Sign platform where people can upload documents and contracts that they can send for signing. So you got Dropbox to hold documents and Dropbox Sign for any contracts that may be held inside of Dropbox, etc. So these cross-sells are super powerful to really help you how you can expand your revenue inside the organization. The next one I want to talk about is what we call usage-based pricing. Now, this one is an interesting one because this one really comes down to what are they using, how much are they using, how long are they using, etc. And all of these help you to scale your revenue and grow inside of the business as well. And this is where you can really bring in a customer success manager, especially for those much bigger companies who are reaching out to them and working with them directly, and getting your designers to work with the team at the enterprise level can really help to open up and unlock new features that will be really beneficial to the team as well. So why should you even care about this? And the big thing I've learned is the math doesn't lie. So retaining customers costs 5 times less than acquiring new ones. So it's really important to focus on the expansion revenue to see and deal with churn, like I mentioned earlier, because that really helps to retain your customers. Next thing, SaaS companies focused on expansion growth have an annual recurring revenue of 20 to 30% faster growth than relying primarily on new customer acquisition. One of the most expensive things your company is ever going to spend on is acquiring a new customer. So smarter companies spend money on dealing with the churn issue, and that now helps over time get the acquisition costs down because you're retaining customers faster for longer. The net dollar effect metric has become the gold standard to measure SaaS success. Leading companies like Snowflake, they boast an incredible 170% NDR, meaning that for every $1 they make from existing customers, they grow it to $1.70 without acquiring anyone new. So this is why the net dollar effect is super powerful, because when you think retention, this really helps overall inside the business as well. So how can you win with expansion revenue? So this specifically is where you want to start small. Identify your power users or customers with the highest engagement. They're the most likely to expand their relationship with you. And that's why it's incumbent upon designers to really make sure they're always having conversations with these individuals. Now, yes, normally a PM is doing it, a PM is driving it. Because designers are going to be the ones working on the actual features, designers need to be in the habit of making sure they're having these conversations with power users to know what they want, also know how they're using the platform, record sessions of them using the platform, and you'll start to see some unique areas of opportunity that you may never have seen just by hearing secondhand what someone else is saying. So, especially if you're a founder of a company, make sure you've got your designers speaking to your actual customers more than less. In other words, technically they need to be speaking to your customers as much as you are, or more than you are, because it's going to be so valuable later on. Build an upgrade strategy. Map out which features or services users will need as they grow, and design intuitive pathways for them to upgrade. So this is why designers need to be speaking to how, especially your power users, are using the platform, because you never know which way or where you can tuck in an upgrade. Tastefully done, obviously, we're designers here, but we want to make sure that we put it inside of the product in a way that feels natural and makes sense for the users that we serve, right? Also use segmentation, tailor upsells and cross-sells to specific customer types to maximize relevance and conversion. What you're doing is not for everyone. What you're doing are for specific individuals, and the better you get at defining who those customers are and how to use your platforms, the better you can get in your messaging and how you message to them, especially if they're in-app as well. You see, I share all of these three levers because these three levers are the key big three to really help SaaS companies grow. I went through today just to remind you, number one, why most SaaS pricing is dead wrong and how we can fix that. Number two, we went through the 90% of SaaS founders where they underestimate churn and how we need to think about churn. And the third thing we went through today was how user experience is the ultimate growth lever to really help grow your company and really take your SaaS company to that next level and hit that 10 million annual recurring revenue and even further. So my question of the day to you all is, what's the number one lever that you're going to work on in your business today? Whether you're a designer, founder, marketer, whoever you are watching this, what's the number one thing that you're going to work on inside the business today so that you can help the company to grow? The number one lever. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, thank you so much for watching today. My name is Leif Wallace. I hope that you found some real value in watching this video today. And take care and look after yourself, look after your families. Remember to subscribe, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Take care.